Hello everyone, welcome to Train Me Buddy. This is Siddharth. In part 1 of this tutorial, we had gone through how to start with SQL queries, and we learned about how to create database and tables, select query, and filter criteria using where clause and different operators. So if you have not watched that video yet, then you can find the link in the description below. In today's video, I'll show you in detail how to insert, update, delete and truncate data in a table. So let's get started. So what will you learn from this course? So I'll take you through how to insert data into a table with different variations, then update the data into a table, then we'll be deleting the data in a table and truncate data in a table. And also we'll be understanding what is the difference between delete and truncate. Insert statement is used to insert new data into a table. So we'll learn insert into statement, insert into select statement, and select into statement. So we can write insert into statement in two ways, either by specifying the columns or required columns to which we are going to insert the data into a table, or you can insert the data in all columns in a table. So let's start with inserting the values in the specified columns in a table. So what is the syntax for this? So we need to have the insert into statement, then the table name where we are going to insert the data into, then the column names to which we are going to insert the data, then values, and we need to specify the values in the same order we have specified above. So before we learn the insert into statement, let's pick up a table to which we are going to insert the data. So let's go to the database which we created in the last session. So we have a table called customer, and in this customer table we have different columns like customer ID, first name, last name, phone, email, street, city, state, and zip code. So let's have the query to insert data into this table customer. So let me write the query as insert into. So let me have the table name as customer, and I need to specify the column names to which I'm going to insert the data into. Then let me have the customer ID, first name, last name, and phone, and close the bracket. Then you need to specify the values, and as the customer ID being the first column in this list, I need to provide customer ID. So let me have the customer ID as 1. And as the customer ID is having numeric value, I don't need to surround it with two single quotes. Then let me have the first name, and as the first name being the string or character value, I need to surround the first name value with two single quotes. So let me have the value Jonas surrounded with two single quotes over here as the first name. Then let me have the last name as Walker, and let's have the phone number. So though phone number is a numeric value, but I am going to specify the phone number with a dash in between. So I am going to use two single quotes over here. So let's have, and let me close the bracket, and let me execute this query. So you can either execute it from here or you can press F5 alternatively. So once you execute this query, you can see that one row is affected. So let's check the data in customer table. So let me execute this select query, and you can see that one record has been inserted into the customer table, and it is inserted into the columns we have specified in the insert into statement, and other columns are having null value. So null means we don't have any value in these columns. Alternatively, let's use the insert into statement to insert the data into all the columns in customer table. So syntax for that is insert into, then you need to specify the table name. Then either you can specify all the columns in the destination table, or you can leave it as it is without specifying the column names. So we can have the insert into table, then the values, and you need to list the values here in the same order it is structured in the table. So as we are going to use the customer table, we need to follow the same order the columns are available in the customer table. So let's have the query as insert into, then customer as the table name, values, and I'll start the bracket. And let me see the columns from the Object Explorer to follow the same order. So we have the customer ID. So let's have customer ID 2. Then let me have the first name. So let me have customer first name as Harris. Then last name, let me have Rao. Then phone. Then email. Then street. Then let's have the city. So let me have the city as Campbell. Then we have state and zip code. So let's specify the state as CA and let me specify a zip code. Let me hide the Object Explorer using this button to make the query visible for you. So let me execute this query and you can see that one row has been affected and we can check the data in customer table now. Let me execute this select query. And here the second record has been inserted with the customer ID 2 and the values we have specified. So we have inserted data for all the columns. So you can see here, all the columns data are inserted over here for customer ID 2. So if you want to insert data from one table to another table, then you can go with insert into select statement. And insert into select statement also can be used in two different ways, either to insert data into specified columns, or you can insert the data into all the columns in a table. Let's start with inserting the values in the specified columns. So for that, we have the syntax as insert into, then we have the destination table name where we are going to insert the data, then the column list to which we are going to insert, then values, and you need to specify the values in the same order as you have mentioned over here. So let's have the query as insert into, then table name as customer, then you need to list the columns. So let me have customer ID, first name, last name, email, and phone. So I have another table called customer data where I have the customer data available. So I'll be picking up the data from customer data to the customer table. So in real-time scenario, you may have a requirement to insert data from another table located in another database that you can specify over here. For this training, let's use the customer data as a source to insert the data into the customer table using insert into select statement. So now we have the insert into, then customer table and listed the column names. So let me have the select statement now to select the data from customer data. So let me have select, then let me copy these column names as I have the same name in the customer data table from. So let's have the customer data. Let me specify a where condition. So let me have where, let's say customer ID in. So as we have inserted data already for 1 and 2, let me have 3, 4. So before we insert the data, let's select the data. So we need to insert the data for two customer IDs specified over here, 3 and 4. So let's execute the insert statement now. And here you can see that 2 rows has been affected. So let's see the data available in customer table. Let me execute. So now you can see that these 2 records has been inserted into the customer table and it is having the values for those columns we have specified over here. And other columns are having the null values. Now let's go through how to insert the values in all columns in a table using insert into select statement. Then we need to have the syntax as insert into and destination table where we are going to insert data. Then you need to have the select query with all the columns to be inserted for the destination table from the source table with the where condition if you have. So let's have the query as insert into customer, then select, and let's specify the column names. So for this, you can drag and drop the column names one by one. So, or you can write it. So let me drag and drop customer ID, then first name, last name, then phone, email, street, then city, state, and the last one as zip code. Okay, so let me specify from. Then let me specify the table name I want to get the data from. So I'll be using the customer data table, which I have created for this example. So in the real-time scenario, you may have the requirement to get the data from another table. So let's have customer data. Now let me specify a where clause. So as we have inserted data already for customer ID 1 and 2, let me have the where clause as where. Let me have the where condition for customer ID in 3, 4. So it will be inserting the data with customer ID 3 and 4 from customer data table being the source table. So before we execute the insert into statement, let me see the select query output. So we have two records selected with the customer ID as 3 and 4. So let's execute this insert into command. So I'll execute it, and you can see that 2 rows has been affected. So now let us see the data in customer table. So let me execute this select query. Now you can see that these 2 records has been inserted into the customer table. Let's go through the select into statement. So we can use the select into statement to insert the data from one table to a new table, and the new table will be created on execution of the select into statement. So similar to other insert statement, select into statement also can be used for copying all columns data from one table to a new table, or you can specify the column names for copying data from one table to a new table. So let's start with copying all columns data from one table to a new table. So for that, we have the syntax as select star, and you need to have the into and new table name from old table name, and you need to specify the where condition. So let's have the query as select star into. Here I'll be having the table name as customer underscore BKP1, and I'll take from customer table. So here I am creating a backup or copy of the customer table with the name as customer underscore BKP1. So in real-time scenario, you may have a requirement to take a backup of one table. So you can use the select into statement to create a backup table on the fly on execution of the select into statement. So let me have this query by specifying a where condition. So let's have where customer ID. So let me take only those customer ID between 1 to 5. So let's have between 1 and 5 and execute. So now we have the 5 records inserted into the BKP table, and we would be having this table in the database. So let's see in the Object Explorer by refreshing it. So we have the backup table created. Let me select data from this table. So let me drag and drop. So this is another way of taking the table name into your query window. So let me select star from, and let me execute. And you can see that only the records inserted into the backup table with the customer ID between 1 and 5. So we have 1 to 5 as the customer ID inserted into this backup table, which is created using the select star into statement. Now let's specify the column names using the select into statement. So for this, we have the syntax as select, then you can have the column names in the sequence you want to have in the new table from the old table, and you can also specify the where condition. So let me have the query as select, then let me have the from here, and let me take the data from customer tables. So before I make this query as the insert into, let me create a select statement for this. So let's have the select statement, select from customer, so that I can pick up the column names from this query window. So let's prepare the select query to insert data into a new table. So let me have select, then let's say I want to take the customer ID, customer first name, last name, and email. Okay, so I need to have customer ID here. Okay, so let me execute this query. And this is taking data only for the selected columns, customer ID, first name, last name, and email. So let me convert this into statement. So I'll have into, and let me have the backup table name as customer underscore BKP2. And you can specify the where clause. So let me go without the where clause. So let me execute this query, and we have 19 rows inserted and a new table created. So let's refresh the tables, and you can see that bk2 has been created. So let's select the data from this table. Let me copy this table name and execute. So now you see that this customer underscore bk2 has been created with the columns specified over here in the select query. We use update statement to modify the existing records in a table. So we'll go through different variations of update statement. So we'll be using the update statement to update one column value for the record, which is satisfying the where criteria. Then updating multiple column values for those records which are satisfying the where criteria, and updating all the records in a table. Let's start with updating one column value in a table. So for the update statement, we have the syntax as update, then table name, and you need to specify set keyword and the column name and value. And you can specify multiple column names to which you are going to update the value with a comma separated. And we can have the where condition. So let's have a query to update one column value in customer table. So before that, let's have the data check. So let's say, so we have the customer data. So let's say I don't have the email ID for customer Jonas Walker. So I am going to update the email ID for this customer, and I know the customer ID for this customer as 1. So let's have the update query as update, then table name as customer, then set. Let's have the email equal to, let me specify the email ID for customer ID 1. Then let's have Jonas Walker at gmail.com, and here you need to specify the where criteria. So let's have where customer ID equal to 1, and let's execute this query, and one row affected, so that means one row has been updated. So let me select the data, and now you see that the email ID is updated for the customer ID 1 as Jonas Walker at gmail.com, whatever I have specified in the set condition of the update query. Now let's go through how to update multiple column value for a record. So let's see some data in customer table. So let's update the data for the same customer ID 1. So let's see what data we don't have. So as we don't have the data for street, city, state, and zip code, so let's update these data in the customer table for the customer ID 1. So let's have the query as update customer table. Then let me write the keyword as set, and let's update the street address. Then I need to have a comma separated for another column. So I can write in the same line, or I can write in another line created. So let me have another line created for better visibility of my query. So let's have city. Let's say city equal to, and let me have the value as Phoenix as the city, then state equal to Arizona, AZ. Then let me have a zip code. Then let me specify the condition where customer ID equal to 1. And let me execute this query, and let's check the data. And now you can see that street, city, state, and zip code are updated as specified in this update statement. So please note that we need to be very careful while updating the data in a table, because if we are not using a where clause, it may update all the records, which is not necessary for your requirement. We can have the update statement in another way. So we have the syntax as update A being the alias or nickname of the table for which you are going to do the update, then set, and you can have the column name and values separated with the commas, then from table name, and you can specify the alias name and where condition. So let me change this update statement in another way. So let's have update A set. Let me have from first, from customer as A. So I'm giving the customer an alias name or nickname as A, and I can have the where condition. So let me copy this where condition from here. And you can specify the values you are going to change. So for example, I'm going to change the street, and let's say I want to change the zip code. Okay, so let me have it as any number. An advantage of having this syntax is before you execute the update statement, you can add a select to check the data whether this is the data you are going to update. So now I can confirm that, okay, I am going to update the data for customer ID 1. So you can comment this here. So you can put 2 dash here. So this is commented and you can execute this. So let me also change the street and let me execute it. So now I can select this data using this condition and see that the street has been changed using this update statement. We use delete statement to delete existing data in a table. So we'll be going through different variations of delete statement. So either we can delete the specific record in a table by specifying the where criteria, or we can delete all the records in a table without specifying the criteria. So syntax for deleting the record from a table is delete from table name, and you can specify the where condition. So this will be deleting those records which will be specifying the where condition. But if you want to delete all the records from the respective table, you can avoid using the where condition here. So before we delete any data, let's check the data in customer table. So let's have select. Okay, so we have this data in customer table. Let me hide the object explorer. So we have this data in the customer table. So let's say I want to delete the data from customer table whose name is Pamelia. So let me take the where condition in the select statement first. So I'll have where first name equal to, let me copy this. You may have multiple customer with the same name, so it is always safer to use the another column which uniquely identifies the record. So in this example, let's add also the customer ID. So let's have n customer ID equal to 5. So let me execute the select statement before we create the delete command. So this is selecting only the customer with the name Pamelia and customer ID as 5. So let's convert this select query into a delete query. Okay, so let's have delete from customer, and I'll specify the same where clause I have specified in the where clause. And let me execute this query. So now one row has been affected. So you can check this same select query and we don't have the data for that. Please note that while using the delete statement, we need to be very careful and mention the right where criteria to specify which record we are going to delete. Another option for deleting all the records from a table would be you don't need to specify the where condition. So let me delete the where condition from here. And here we have the query as delete from customer. So which will be deleting all the records from customer table. So before we delete, let's check the data in customer table. So let me comment this where condition. So you can use 2 dash to comment the query, which you don't need to execute. So this will not be an active query, or I can just select this command and execute. So we see that we have 18 rows in the customer table. So if I execute this delete from customer command, let me execute, and it deleted 18 rows from customer table. And let's check the data in customer table now. And we don't have any data in the customer table. Truncate statement is used to delete all the records from a table. However, we cannot use where clause with the truncate statement to delete specific record from a table. So for that, we have the syntax as truncate table, and you need to specify the table name. So let's truncate a table for which we have data. So let me pick up one of the backup table we created earlier. So let me take this table customer underscore bk2. So let's have the query as truncate table, then table name, customer underscore bk2. So before I run this query, let's check the data in this table. So let me have select star from, and we have 19 rows in this table. So let me execute this truncate table command. So this is executed successfully, and it doesn't show how many records has been affected like we see with the delete command. Let me check the data using the select statement, and we don't have any data in the customer underscore bk2 table. So what is the difference between delete and truncate? So as we know simple SQL queries, let's understand the difference between delete and truncate in simple terms. So delete can be used to delete specified rows from a table with the where condition we are specifying. However, truncate statement is used to delete all the records from a table, and we cannot use where condition for truncate. The delete statements removes the rows one at a time, so it is slower than the truncate statement. However, the truncate statement removes the data by deallocating the data pages used to store the table data, so it is faster than delete statement. So if you are using a numeric column with the auto increment number, then if you are using delete statement, it does not reset the identity column in the table. However, truncate statement resets the identity column in the table. So this is the difference between delete and truncate in simple terms. So we'll go into the detail when we cover the advanced topic about SQL. Thank you for watching. Hope this tutorial is useful for you. Please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit on the bell icon so that you will be notified about the upcoming new videos. If you have any doubts or suggestions, please feel free to put it on the comment. Thank you.